Hey class, this week we'll explore value and the importance of understanding how value is used in composition to provide definition and emphasis while provoking emotion. So, what is value? Let's take a quick look back. So, it's the second dimension of color. It refers to the lightness or darkness of a hue. So a hue can be changed by adding black or white, which results in a tint. The value of hues. So pure hues vary in value. A pure hue is one in which there is no black or white that is present. An example of that would be a pure hue yellow or a pure hue violet. There's no white or black that has been added into those hues. Now, when two hues are mixed, the end product is a hue that is darker than the lighter hue and lighter than the darker hue. Pigments of equal value mixed together equals an end product whose color is of darker value. Artists must recognize when hues are of the same value. So something to think about. The pure hue yellow is darker than the pure hue violet. White or black is then added to make them an equal value. So broken tints are natural grays that contain pure hues. They're typically found within nature. Basically, they're simply broken hues with different amounts of black and white added. So in essence, they are paler or darker earth colors. Discords. A discord is the effect obtained when the value of a hue is opposite to its natural order. An example is adding white to violet, which results in lavender. Now, lavender is what? A discord of violet. Black is added to light value hues to obtain a discord also. So light discords, when used in large areas, they can weaken a composition. When they're used in smaller amounts, they reduce monotony or lack of interest in a composition. Light discords also provide the best highlights. Now for highlights, the discord chosen should be based on the primary color that is closest to the object that will feature the highlight. So for example, on an orange, the highlight used would not be pale orange, but rather a very pale red. Light discords must be accompanied and supported by lighter tints of hues that are naturally lighter on the pigment wheel. An example would be lavender, which requires a pale red, pale orange, or pale yellow. Dark discord must be accompanied and supported by darker tints of hues that are naturally darker on the pigment wheel. Another example would be a dark orange, which requires a darker red, a darker violet, or a darker blue. Value and spatial clarity. There are 5 ways value clarifies space and form. 2D forms appear solid as a result of shading. Value creates pattern and texture. Value imparts emotion. Value can give definition and emphasis, and differences in value imparts contrast. Shading. Chiaroscuro is the traditional form of shading. It relies on systematic changes in value resulting in highlight, light, shadow, core of shadow, reflected light, and cast shadow. Now the highlight is the lightest value on a surface. They usually denote smooth or shiny surfaces. Do keep in mind that highlights are not required. Light and shadow are the intermediate values that define the areas between the highlight and the core of the shadow. Core of shadow is the most concentrated area of darkness. Reflected light is the light that is bounced back from nearby surfaces. Cast shadows are shadows thrown by the object onto an adjacent plane. The image shows the systematic changes in value. So you'll notice the light area, the highlight, the form shading, the form shadow, the reflected shadow, and the cast shadow. Pattern and texture. Differences in value provide contrast, hence value creates texture and pattern. Rough texture is created by a wide contrast between light and dark values across a surface. Less contrast between light and dark values creates a more subtle texture. Emotion. Sharp contrasts produce the effect of precision, firmness, objectivity, and alertness. Close values produce feelings of haziness, softness, vagueness, indeterminacy, quiet, rest, introspection, and brooding. Dark values seem to be quiet and subdued. Middle values seem relaxed and less demanding. Now, your dark compositions will give you feelings of what? Things like nighttime, darkness, mystery, and fear should come to mind. While your lighter compositions will part feelings of illumination, clarity, and optimism. Definition and emphasis. Contrast and value can create emphasis. Light values will seem more active, increase distance and spaciousness, and make objects seem larger. Light and dark values aid in moving the eye around a composition, just like a line does. And in doing so, it creates a sense of movement. Changes in values also describes objects or part of objects. Again, very similar as to what lines do when they define the edges of an object. Contrast and toning. So there's wide differences in contrast and toning, which makes objects stand out and it increases their perceived size. So the greater the proportion of white to black that is present, the lighter the value perceived will be. Contrast can affect the balance of a piece. The greater the contrast between values requires smaller amounts that are needed to achieve balance. Toning is when a composition is worked on a mid-value surface. Values in composition. So analogous hues of near or same values are placed alongside one another. Now they'll tend to blend into each other, making their boundaries disappear. As a refresher, your analogous hues are those that are adjacent to each other on the color wheel. Combining equal value, broken, related hues results in boundaries dissolving. Light value colors tend to expand and wash over an area, while your dark value colors tend to contract and pull within themselves. It is important as an artist to be able to predict how a color will be influenced or changed by its surroundings. For example, white weakens the luminosity of hues adjacent on the color wheel, making them appear darker. Or another example is how a hue surrounded by gray will seem more colorful. We'll take a better look at this on the next slide. Okay, so let's take a better look at disappearing and dissolving boundaries as well as our hue values and backgrounds. So when we take a look at the disappearing and dissolving boundaries image, we can see in our columns A and B that we have our disappearing boundaries. In both columns, analogous colors are used. In column A, the analogous colors that are used are cooler than the colors in the large circles. So the colors in the middle of the circle is cooler than the color in the large circle. Now in column B, our analogous colors are warmer than the colors in the large circles. So again, the smaller circle, the color there is warmer than the color in the large circle, which again results in disappearing boundaries. Now in column C, we have the identical broken hues. And so these hues cause our boundaries to dissolve. Now in looking at the image for hue values and backgrounds, we'll notice that in column A, when a hue is placed on a black background, it appears to be richer. Now in column B, when the colors or the hues are placed against the gray background, they appear to advance forward. And in column C, when they're placed on white backgrounds, their luminosity is weakened and they actually appear darker than what they truly are. The eye's response to hue. Now keeping in mind that a composition of a few hues is generally more pleasing to the eye than is one of many. So by nature, our eyes tend to notice white or light value hues first, gray or middle value hues second, and black or dark value hues third. The eye's movement is more fluid when white or dark values are on the right and progresses to black or dark values on the left. The eye is most satisfied with black or dark value at the bottom and white or light values at the top. Order. Order is achieved when colors or shades of gray are sequenced. Imposing order can achieve harmony. The eye is most comfortable with naturally progressing value relationships. So, a background that is black followed by gray, then white, or a background that is white followed by gray, then black. Now, changing sequencing from the natural value order is visually jarring to the eye. Some examples of this change would be a gray background followed by white, then black, a gray background followed by black, then white, a white background followed by black, then gray, and a black background followed by white, then gray. Now, architectural order is white, gray, and black. So it's dark at the bottom, moving up to light. This order is logical. A typographical order is pretty much the inverted relationship of white, gray, black to black, gray, white. So white, gray, black is inverted to be black, gray, white. Now, typographical order, as the name implies, does allow text to be noticed and read comfortably. So think about having bold, darker, or heavier text at the top of a news article, or denoting a different subsection or section of a book, or even denoting a definition in a book. So this results in better eye and brain comprehension. So irregular orders are relatively unstable sequences. Do note that architectural order, typographical order, and irregular order are all sequences that can be converted to light value, middle value, and dark value hues, or a combination of hues. So the last slide is going to be an overview of sequencing. Okay, so we can see with natural sequencing, we have white, gray, black, or black, gray, white. With our unnatural sequencing, you can see we have, for example, black, white, and gray, or gray, black, and white. Then you have your architectural order, which is going to be your white, gray, black, and then your typographical order, which is the inverted version, black, gray, white, and then you have your irregular orders, all that where the sequences are irregular and or not in its natural order.